Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So I thought I would carry on a little bit more with that conversation about how to get a good deal at the Lumberyard. And one of the things I was thinking about after I had posted that video this morning, because really I wanted to keep talking about some things, but after I started reading some of the comments in the comment section, one of the things that it kind of occurred to me is that a lot of people aren't quite aware of the fact that lumberyards adjust the prices on account of how much you're purchasing. And I know that seems kind of like unfair for a lot of people, like everybody should be charged the same price regardless. But if you do not adjust your prices on your house packages when you go to sell a bunch of lumber, then the guys down the road they'll beat your price by just, a few $100s, and you'll lose all your business to those guys. So you have to adjust your prices in order to be competitive when it comes to house packages. And not everybody does it. Like there are some lumber yards where you go in, regardless of how much you pay, this is the price that you pay across the board, and there is no adjusting anything. Now, I have never worked for a lumber yard like that. And I could see where it would be really helpful as far as like maybe dealing with the customer relations with the employees, like they don't have a choice, they're just pretty much systematic in the process. But when it comes to like bigger projects, like doing a house package or even just doing like a few $1,000s worth of material, you can get a better price from the lumberyard in a lot of cases, and not necessarily on all the material. Like some places they just don't have room to move. For example, and surprisingly, lumber yards don't make a lot of money off the lumber. I know it's strange to think that it seems like kind of like, counterintuitive that they would call it a lumber yard, but you really don't make much money on the lumber. You do make money on it. I mean, you wouldn't sell it unless you did, but the real profit comes in with everything else that puts lumber together. All the hardware, all the nails, all the glue, everything that puts the house together is where the profit really is. That's what the lumberyard is really trying to sell, is everything else. And so if you think about that, like when you go in and say, I'm going to be buying $10,000 worth of lumber, that's a lot of money. I mean, it's a lot of money to the lumberyard. It's a lot of money to you. It's a lot of money to anybody. I don't care how much money you have, right? $10,000 is a lot of money to put down on your framing package. But you also have to think that that's not necessarily where the lumberyard is going to be making a lot of money. I mean, it is a big transaction. They will be profiting from it. They look to do that transaction. They want it, don't get me wrong. But really, what it's going to come down to is they're trying to get that sale so that they can get all the rest of the house. And so that's really why you see like adjustment in the prices, is because they're really trying to nail down that framing package. If you can get that going, then you'll end up selling the siding and the roofing and the windows and the doors and all the drywall and everything else that goes with the place. Drywall, you don't make a lot of money on. In fact, you break more of it as a lumberyard dealer than you do selling it. The profit margins on drywall are just atrocious. They're terrible. But when you sell the mud, the screws, the tape, everything that goes with it, now you got a profitable thing that you can sell. So keep that in mind when you go down to the lumberyard, that it's not necessarily the big bulk items that the lumberyard is looking to do. It's everything else that they're trying to get incorporated into that. And once you have like that kind of, understanding of it, then you can go in and say like, hey, I got this $5,000 deck package that I'm getting. What's the best deal that, we can do on this? Because I'm going to be shopping around. Lumberyards are aware of that. Hey, give them the list of materials. If you go down to the lumberyard and say, hey, I got this like 10 by 20 deck. It's about, 12 feet off the ground or so. Need a railing system and a set of stairs. Let me know how much that's going to cost, okay? And you just run off. And that's all the information you give them. That's a lot of work for that individual. They got all kinds of stuff they're doing. Now they have to sit there and think, okay, well, let's see, what would this deck look like? What would all the parts and pieces be? There are programs like, you can go to your computer program and punch all that stuff in there and it'll spit out like a list of materials for you. But a lot of times these computer programs aren't exactly the same way that the individual would build it. So then you have to go through and fine tune it. And then if you're using like a computer program from like, say, a particular hardware company, like they have this deck program, but it's like, from a particular like metal fastening company. Well, they're going to put in as many metal fastening devices as they can into that list of materials because that's what they're trying to sell. Way more than what you would ever need. So really it takes like the individual person, the carpenter, to say, this is the way I really want to build it. And, of course they have to meet codes and laws and stuff like that. But really, that's what it takes, is the individual to say, this is how I envision this thing being built, and these are the parts and pieces that I need. Now, if you go to the lumberyard and say, I have this envision of a 20 by 30 deck that's whatever off the, on a set of stairs and a railing, and let me know how much that's going to cost, and pressure treated cedar and composite decking, and give me a call here this afternoon, let me know how much all that's going to cost. That is a very difficult process for the individual like lumberyard to kind of deal with. It's not impossible. They'll get it done for you. No worries about it. And there's some guys out there who will probably knock it out in a few minutes for you. But if they're really busy, that's a lot of information that they have to deal with as far as, being able to acquire. And then if they're off by something, you're going to be upset. Well, it's just like, that's not what I asked for or whatever. So go into the lumberyard ahead of time and asking them, what is it that you need? What kind of information do you want? And then coming back to them with lists of material and more specifications, like what type of decking you would want or what type of windows you're looking for, the grid patterns that are available. If you go in looking to order and you have no clue about what it is you're about ready to get, you are going to have a very terrible experience at the lumberyard. So it's nice to go down and do a preliminary. Go down, find the person who is most experienced with, or just has experience. It doesn't even have to be the most experienced. Just somebody who has experience or is looking to just do it for you. Because I tell you what, there is sometimes I have new people who come on board with the store, and I show them over and over and over again, and they just don't get it. And then other people, I show them one time, they pick it up, they're running with it, and I think, oh my gosh, this person's going to be a rock star at this. And so you never know when you go down to the lumberyard. Just because they don't have an experience with it doesn't mean that they won't do you good. Okay, I mean, in fact, they probably pay a little bit better attention to your order than somebody who thinks that they know how to do it. Right? So kind of remember that. Just get the feel for the individual, and and that's what it's going to take there. But going back to like bulk quantities again. So generally, if you buy more, you're going to get a better price. Just kind of remember that. If you buy one of something, it's going to cost the lumberyard more. It's more about transactions and how many transactions you have. You sell 100 2x4s 100 times, that's a lot of work. Each one is a transaction, each one is a loading of the customer, each one is another process that has to be done. You do 100 2x4s in one transaction, the lumberyard still takes in the same amount of money, but the amount of profit that the lumberyard gets because of the time and money that is involved with it is a lot better. So you can see the difference in volume. It makes a huge difference when it comes to transactions and the lumber sales and the prices that are with it. One of the things, and so that's like how to get like a good deal on bulk packages, is to go in with the entire package. Like, don't just go in and say, how much is your 2x4s, and then expect that to be like the bottom line price, because like you really want to go in with the list of materials. I need 30 of these, 50 of those, this is the decking, these are the screws, and you bring in with that bulk package list and you hand it over to the guy so he can just read it off and punch it into the computer and hand you over the estimate. And you let them know, just like, you don't have to like, grill it into them about like, I'm going to take this list and I'm going to go all over town with it. You can just tell them, hey, I'm looking to get, bids on this list of material. Can you bid this out for me? Just simple as that. You put the idea in there that you are shopping around for it, and they will just automatically try and acquire that sale. If they really want it. If not, then you're going to find the better deal by shopping around. So that's what you should do. What you should not do with using the bulk pricing is, I've seen this happen many times, and customers get really upset when this takes place too. And I try to, and now, like as an experienced salesperson, I try and mitigate it before it happens. But a lot of times people will come in, and this is a good example, and this is like, it just happened a couple of years ago. But a guy comes into me and he says, hey, I need to get some torch down roofing. How much is it? I give him a price on the torch down roofing. He says to me, cool, how much is a pallet? And I said, well, it's, 30 rolls. And he was like, no, how much is the cost on it? And I thought, how much is the cost on 30 rolls of torch down? And he says, yeah. And I'm like, well, there's no price break on it. I said, that's just how much the price is on it. And he was just like, really? You don't give a price break for a pallet on it? I said, no, roofing, I just kind of like, to be honest with you, I wasn't lying, but I didn't exactly like say it truthfully in the sense that, I wouldn't give him a break on it. But I told him that the price was pretty much at the bare minimum, and that's just what the price was, and that I would give him a break on like the nails or something else. Like I offered him a break on another part of the project, but not on that particular roofing. And he left the store. And one of the other employees asked me about that. And I said, well, here's the thing. I would totally give a break on a pallet of torch down roofing if there was a place in Astoria where there was a project that would need a pallet of torch down roofing. See, there's no project, and I was pretty sure, and I shouldn't have assumed it because, he very well could have. I know what he was doing. He was working on his shop. He's been working on his shop for 2 months. That's what his project's for. He was looking for a better deal. He wanted to get the price on the pallet, but then only buy a few rolls. This is something that has played, a lot, and I recognized it happening, and I wouldn't give him the deal. Now, here's the thing. Had he come to me with like the entire project, he may have not got the deal on the roofing, but I would have given him a better deal on a lot of other parts of the project. But to try and come and get a pallet pricing on something I knew he was not going to take on, that was going to be, it was going to be a difficult sale because somebody might have fallen for it and given him a price, but then he would have returned it all, and then we would have had to explain how there's a 15% restock fee, and that gets very, uncomfortable conversation to deal with the customer when it's in perfect shape and all the other stuff that goes along with it. But it's something that happens. So you don't want to like fake your volume, because if you do that, then you're gonna create kind of bad blood with the lumberyard. You want to be honest with how much you're doing. Another story that kind of goes with that one is I had a guy who has like this farm across the river, and he was planning on buying like thousands and thousands of dollars worth of pressure treated beams, 6x6s, to run his fencing for his cattle, and he was talking all about his cattle. We must have sat and talked for an hour and a half, and by the time we were done, we had a list of materials that was $30,000. I mean, it was huge. And he says, okay, I can't take this all at once. Is there a way that we could do this over the course of the summer? And I said, yeah, absolutely, we can do this over the course of the summer. I said, but the way this has to go down is that we can't just do the $2,000 order this week that you want to do. We have to do the whole $30,000. I will store that material here for you, and you can pick it up as you need it. I can't offer you any refund on it, though. But I will give you this incredibly good price on it. But that's the way it has to go down. I never heard from him again. See, he didn't want $30,000 worth of material. He just wanted a killer deal on $2,000 worth of material, which I knew was the case. And he says, well, how much for just this material? And I re-rang it up at the full retail, and I handed it over to him. And I offered the delivery. I said, I'm sorry, I cannot break the price down a little bit, but I will deliver it to you for free. I won't charge any delivery fee. And the place was kind of a ways away. It was like, I don't know, like an hour and 15 minutes away or something like that. So it was, it would cost the store a little bit of money to do it, but I offered that. So it's real important when dealing with the lumberyard that you don't like just fake who you are or what you're doing. Be honest with them, and they're going to be honest with you. I know a lot of times people come in looking for the best deal, and sometimes they're not quite sure on how they're asking for that best deal. And I like using decking because it's a broad type of thing or type of material to go off of. I mean, there's a lot of different styles of it and pricing ranges that just go everywhere. So it's a good kind of all-around material. But just for one last example, and I'm going to end the video. I had a customer come in and ask me one time how much composite decking was. And I said, well, there's a lot of composite decking. He just kept like, just how much is it? How much is my deck going to cost me? He was getting irritated with me. And I finally said, okay, here, this is how much this is going to cost. This is the least expensive composite decking there is out there. And, this is how much it is. This is the one I'm offering you. And he said, great, I'll take it. That's all I needed. And I thought, okay, you didn't care about what it was, the color, anything else. All you cared was the price. I ended up selling more of that decking that year than anybody else on the coast. It was killer. It was like phenomenal year for my deck sales, for my composite decking sales. There was that one summer that I did that, but I pushed it just on that price alone, and people were so thankful to me. They were like, man, I did not think we were going to be able to put this thing together for the price that you have offered it. Thank you so much. And I thought to myself, it was just like, it's just the product, I'm not doing anything, it's just like, this is what it is. And they said that nobody else was offering anything like that for them. And they were thanking me. You're welcome. Thank you for shopping with me. That's all I ask. I didn't, I wasn't trying to do anything special except for just offer you what you wanted, and to give you a good deal on it. Okay. Uneducated Economist, you guys let me know.